Is it? Okay.
All right. In addition to the agenda would be adding 10.3, the revised contract for James Nettleton.
Yes.
So that's 10.3. Any other changes to the agenda?
Nope.
All right, looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Raleigh, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Lindsay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Moving on to the public comments. No one had signed up anything. Do we have any rebel recognition? Yeah. Nope. All right. We will move on to reports. The Dilworth Elementary report. Okay, thank you.
So as we talk about, I look at the big DGF, and not only do I think of our three communities, but I go back to one of the slogans for one of our earlier referendums, developing great futures. And how that happens is with kids being our highest asset and our most important asset. And secondly, the work that teachers and paras do every day with our kids. And so as we look at how do we meet the needs of all of our kids to develop those great futures, you know, we look at the great things that our teachers are doing, the interventions that they're doing in the classroom, and then some of the targeted interventions that we have. And if we look, you know that we have 5 people in Title I that do marvelous work with our what we would call level 3 targeted services. We have special services or special education that does the same thing. And then we have a much smaller population, but a needier population, and that's our EL population. And so when we look at that as an intervention, that's a program that you haven't heard much about over the years. And so I'm pleased to introduce Jenna Quanbeck, who's our EL teacher, and have her just talk a little bit about programming.
I have some handouts here to kind of give you some visuals of what I'll be talking about.
Thank you.
As an EL teacher, working with students who don't share a language with me, I like my visuals.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have a couple extra here. What is? I just start with it's an absolute joy to work in this district. I absolutely love who my learners are. I love coming to work each day, and I'm just very passionate about closing that linguistic gap and that academic gap. I just really appreciate the support that Peg has given me over these past 2 years as I've worked to develop the program and to develop the academic resources I have to reach the students that I have. To start us off, I wanted to give you all an idea of who our learners are. So that's that first page of your handout, the DGF English Learner Statistics. You'll see that I broke down the schools in that first column. So it's the 4 individual schools and then the DGF school district as a whole on that last row. So that second column is the number of ELs in each school and again in the district as a whole. And in the third column, it's the home language of ELs. So in Dilworth Elementary, we have 21 ELs, 7 of which speak Kurdish, 5 speak Arabic. That's how I broke that down. And then that last column, I have the WIDA access scores. I'll talk a little bit more about those later, but I just wanted to give you an idea of where those learners are at in their language proficiency levels. That next packet that you have is our English Learner Program Plan. Peg has worked on this plan with EL teachers before I started in the district, but last year at the beginning of the year we sat down and looked at it again, trying to update some of the information. And then I sat down with Peg again at the beginning of this year and looked at it. So that first page, I guess not the first page, page number 2, where it says, "Dear Reader," everything that we send home to our EL or English learner families needs to be provided in a language that is accessible to those families. So if a family speaks Somali and does not read or write English, we need to provide these documents in Somali. So this letter is just saying, if you need help understanding this document, please contact Peg or myself, and we will get you the interpreter services that you need, either translating it or interpreting the document. MDE has put out a database called Transact that helps us with this a little bit. They have supplied us with parental notifications of program enrollment and exit documents like that. So far, they have Somali, Arabic, and Spanish on that database, and they've got some other languages that are kind of city-centric, but as they're developing that database, they'll add more languages. Another way that we meet that communication need with our families is through interpreters. We hire interpreters for parent-teacher conferences, special ed meetings like IEP, or any additional meeting that the parent or teacher might request. So as we're thinking of meeting the needs with the communication between our school district and our families, one area of expansion that Peg and I have been in communication about is possibly providing interpreters at back-to-school nights. There is a lot of really important information that goes out to families those nights, and our EL parents aren't always able to access that information, and we just feel that that would be a very important step towards communicating with the families for the rest of the school year. Another area of expansion that we've been looking at is, as I have worked to hire interpreters, they are not always the most reliable at showing up when they have confirmed to show up. And so we don't know yet if we'll be,
What we'd like to do, and we'll be meeting with Mr. Tygeson, is perhaps looking at other area schools that have interpreters and seeing if we could tap into them, with a contract for after-school hours when our needs would be, so that we would know those people, and they would know us, and we'd build that relationship so that they could be consistent with us and consistent with our teachers and with our families.
when our teachers put in a lot of work to prepare for these meetings, when they're hard conversations about retention or academic progress, we need these interpreters there to communicate our needs and our struggles, especially with the students. Moving along to page number 4, we have worked up the purpose of our EL program. And I just wanted to read that off to you. I firmly believe in our EL program, and we have sat down quite frequently and looked at the purpose of our program. So we believe that our purpose is to provide support for students to be successful in their mainstream classroom, to honor the culture and languages of students, to provide core instruction that meets the content and language needs of all EL students, and to address the needs of all EL students through instruction in academic language, study skills, and critical thinking skills. So as I sit down at the beginning of each year and plan out my schedule and plan out my course outline, what my lesson plans will be, I always refer back to these 4 bullet points, and I think, what am I here for? How can I build my lesson plans to support the students and develop them both academically and their linguistic needs? At the bottom of that same page, there's the qualifying for EL services. So if you're wondering how a student gets inside my classroom, the first step is the Minnesota Language Survey. That is at the back of your program. It looks like this. This is in the enrollment packet of every student. So anytime a family enters our district, they have to fill out this Minnesota Language Survey. If there's any language other than English written down on this survey, I have to take a closer look at that student. It doesn't matter how often they speak the language or how often they hear that language. If there's any language other than English, I take a closer look. The next thing that I look at is their READA Access Score, which I think is right behind the Minnesota Language Survey. This is just a sample document that I pulled off of the WIDA website. So for a student to be in my services, I look at the 4 language domains, which is listening, speaking, reading, and writing. they need 3 out of those 4 domains to be at a 3.5 or higher. So automatically I know that this student would qualify for my services because their speaking and their reading are 3.4 or lower. I'd also look at the overall score, which is an average of the 4 language domains. That overall score needs to be at a 4.5 or higher for them to not need my services. So if it's below that, they qualify for my services, and the student is a 3.4. So they would qualify for my services. The last big packet that you have in there is a visual that I like to share with the classroom teachers that I work with. A lot of the classroom teachers aren't quite sure what language output they can expect from their students, so I share this as a visual of that. So a student at a WIDA level 1 or an entering student, if they receive the writing prompt, this artist is working on a mural, which is a large painting on the wall. Describe what you see in the picture, write as much as you can in 1 minute. All the student would be able to produce is boy, girl, water, hat, fish. Not a lot of detail, no sentences there, just that single word level. Moving on, that next page is the level 2 or the emerging students. Same prompt, but the student would be able to say, I see ocean, I see boy, I see girl there. So that student is starting to get to that simple sentence level. There's a little bit more detail, but the student is still missing their articles and their prepositions. That next page shows the level 3 or the developing student. Here we change the prompt a little bit to elicit greater language production. So we might say, now write a full composition about what you think the new mural should show, describe in detail what the mural will show, and explain why the mayor should choose your idea. So the student will say, I think the mayor should my idea because City Hall is old, the community center is important, it is a beautiful building, they want an award. So that student is starting to reach that paragraph level, they have multiple sentences, they're starting to show that elaboration with detail, and there's some organization. There's a reason why they put that first sentence first and the last sentence last. And then the last level that I work with, which is the last level I'll show you today, is the level 4, the expanding level. It's the same prompt, but that student is expected to organize their ideas first. So that's that first page you see there. And then the next 2.5 pages is the student's written response. So that student is definitely showing organization of thought, which is a big thing in the WIDA framework. They show that paragraph level of writing ability. They have transition words like first, next, finally, in conclusion. And you're starting to see a variety of sentence lengths, so that simple sentence or compound, complex. So that is an idea of who our learners are. If you want to refer back to the EL statistics page that I showed you. I think I've used up the 10-minute time frame and then some.
That's good.
I can talk more about the lessons and my course outline. I could talk until I'm blue in the face, but
We thought that this would be a great introduction of her as an interventionist, and just getting to meet her, and you know, you can hear her passion not only for the learners and for their success, but her passion, a great liaison between the families in the school and the interpreters in the school and classroom teachers. I mean, she's a gem. Take good care of her.
I have a question, actually.
yes.
I work in the clinic in Fargo, so when we get a non-English speaking patient that comes in and their interpreter either did not get scheduled or did not show, is there an option for our school to look into? We have an iPad, and you open it up and all you do is you hit what language they need to speak, and somebody comes on and you can either Skype so you can see the interpreter.
Sure.
And granted, I don't know if that's anything that's been explored or if it's
Yes,
better to have
we've looked
person.
at- We're looking into that
Okay.
as an option as well, yeah.
Yeah, we've explored that when we were looking at the finances behind that. It was really expensive.
We
Oh,
can
it
use
is more
Sanford's money.
I think it was like $4 a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Well, obviously, I like, I
Right. No,
don't care how
that's
much
good,
it
but
costs.
we're
I would
looking
have
at
my
all
work, but
options, so thank you for that.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I just was curious.
yeah, it would be. There are programs that you can buy to put on an iPad, and I haven't explored that very thoroughly. So when I looked at the technology and saw $4 a minute, no,
Right.
a lot of money.
I know when I worked for Head Start, we used Babelfish is one of the programs that we had used.
I'll look into that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
And it's a good segue into what I've got to share. You know, as we were discussing it, what we wanted to share with you tonight, we really focused on goals. But what are our goals this year as an elementary? Because Peg and I, that's that point. We need to share the kiddos, and we need to make sure it's equitable, and that we really focus on what we've done really, really well this year as a school, as teachers, as paras, as custodians, and there's a lot of celebrations, and we celebrate that all the time. Thinking about our goal, main is the focus on academic achievement for all kids, and kind of goes with what Jen had said. You know, we look at the LEADA, and maybe there are more needs, EL needs in the Dilworth site for the elementary than in Glyndon, but as the years progress, it's going to be, you know, it's going to get there. We're going to equal and we'll really teach our teachers how to use that LEADA information, because part of our goals are that data-driven instruction, and that's what we see right on our wall. So I'm going to share something with you in just a second, but I really, you know, want to kind of go over a little bit about, you know, what as an elementary DGF has done, you know, to build in and strengthen the positives with our community and with our staff and with our students. And we've really worked hard on involving a lot of community assets, a lot with our mental health with our kiddos. And we've involved a lot of solutions work and the village work and a lot of outside agencies to help with our kids in many capacities, because we're looking at the needs of all of our kids. The constant parent stuff that we do on a daily basis as teachers, as administrators, as it's something to celebrate. You know, we've done a lot to support that, and I think that's something that's really, really awesome to be able to say, because the work I'm going to show you is awesome. And the work I'm going to show you is with our new writing curriculum, what I have here. And I have kindergarten, I have first, I have second, and I have third. So I'll show you kindergartens, and then I'll leave the rest with you, so you don't have to look at it all tonight. But I really want you to focus on it and look at the progression. And to say our teachers took a new curriculum and used it with fidelity, wow. This proves that we have rock stars. This proves that we believe in that academic success for all of those kids. So what I'm going to do is there's a different one here. These are kindergarten ones. This one shows, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. This one shows, and I don't know which ones each of you are going to get. So they're writing how they started their year. Their first page is how they started their year, and if you go through it, you can see that it progressively gets a little better every time. They start in the curriculum. They start kids off at different levels, doing different things. Like if you notice, we have a picture, and then we have just the single line, and it progresses to the multiple lines of writing. And in my time as an educator, I have never seen kindergarteners that have been able to transform their writing. And you know, it's that fidelity, the teachers that we have, and Peg and I both, and the teachers that support our kids, absolutely phenomenal. And the way that they have shown, and I asked for you know, some of these success stories, and even in talking, I have a special ed teacher who teaches very at-risk, high needs kids, and she said all of her kids this year went up 100 points or more in their academic star growth. And I just got the goosebumps, and I said, you know what, with all the adversity and everything that comes with these kiddos, you focus on that academic, the social, everything, the whole shebang, and she was just glowing. It was super cool. It was one of an awesome growth meeting that I had, and I was able to say, you know what, you did this. You were able to hold it together with the support of the staff and with the support and what the knowledge you had, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. So, you know, thinking about those successes for all kids, and really thinking about, you know, as we move forward as a district, things that we're going to need to provide our teachers to make sure that we have the capacity to keep serving all of our kids. You know, lots of crisis situations, lots of trauma therapy. We really need to figure out how to inform the staff and spread the news and talk about the changing needs of our kids, the mental health needs, and the supports that we have. So really focusing on what professional development is going to happen at the beginning
That's
of
a good segue, because
Yep.
I met with Jen, and
Next
she's
year.
going to have some professional development for the district.
So we've got plans. So, you know, really focusing on what the teachers need and what the staff needs for us to keep moving forward and to keep being progressive with other districts and keep understanding and dealing with kids in crisis and kids that are going through trauma and special needs kids and just the whole logistics, the whole package. So we can go back to our goal as a district by providing academic success for all learners. So you guys can keep those. I'm gonna leave the rest. Yeah, I just go and you guys want to peruse. Some of them are quite comical, and I've really enjoyed them.
And this is kindergarten?
This is kindergarten.
Oh, they're handwriting better than mine. I mean, that's pretty,
Yes,
pretty good. Oh,
that's
seriously, you should see this one.
And
I mean, that's good.
the ones that I gave Sandy to are second and third graders, so they're phenomenal. They're phenomenal, and I have a binder of first grade stuff. I have to bring back to Mrs. Olstad, but so if you ever have any questions about what that academics and though that piece looks like for that success, you know, let us know. Definitely, we can show some of that, and it goes on and on. There are a lot of really good things happening academically in our facilities.
I'm gonna segue just for a moment. I haven't had a chance to talk to any of the board members since my retirement announcement. I find it a little bit surprising. I thought I could have some visits, but what I do want to take tonight is the opportunity to, it was 28 years ago that Rick Carview Sr. was board chair at the time, and the other 6 board members took a risk on this rookie. When I tell people it's when you love what you do, it's hard to say goodbye. So thank you for bearing with me. Because they saw the passion, the compassion I had. And I'd like to thank those board members and all the board members through you for your support. I've been through 5 superintendents and 6 elementary principal colleagues. I got to end the Dilworth Public School era and start the Dilworth-Glyndon-Felton Public School era. And we have great things happening. And I hope that at the core of the decisions that you have to make, that you keep our true belief as Dilworth Elementary that our children are first. That's not just a slogan on the wall or on our t-shirts. It's what, thank goodness most of the faculty that's at Dilworth I've hired, but most of them bought into that early on, that indeed that's got to be our operating principle. And it's been an honor and a privilege. And I'd like to thank Dilworth Elementary for the privilege of being their principal. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peg.
Thank you, and we'd like to publicly say thank you for all of your years that you've given to our district as well. Peg, you've had all of my kids.
What's that?
You've had all of my kids.
I've had all your kids.
You've had all of my kids, and you've always had passion and, you know, supported your staff very, very well. And so we thank you for your
It's a
time.
great place to be. DGF Schools is a great place to be. We need to uphold the pride and the continuing working together, and thank you for the honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peg.
Thanks, Peg.
Board committee reports. I mean, it just seems like we've met a billion times.
We haven't.
What doesn't,
We just, I mean, it really wasn't a
It's
board committee,
interview.
just the
Yeah.
architects.
Yeah.
went through that vetting, looking at that, so.
okay,
Selection down to 4.
Four.
We're interviewing
The
on
11th.
June 5th, right? June 5th.
Yep.
Starting at 5 in the high school. With
Right here.
45-minute increments at a time.
Mhm.
I think that was it.
Yep. Maybe no other, no? Okay, so Brian,
Scott,
we will
do you
move.
have any DLT or?
No, we didn't have a DLT. We have one in June, July, and August just got scheduled. Did we have a DLT?
June 13th, I think it is.
Yeah, but we didn't have one this last, did we?
We did.
We did.
We didn't.
Was I there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's where, but that was before the last board meeting where I said we just kind of pitched around money, remember? It was just kind of like, yeah, we handed out, moved money from one to the other. Basically, we gave the buildings have now more of the control over the funding,
Okay,
where I guess it probably should be, so.
okay. All right, thank you. Brian, was that you?
Short and sweet.
Yep.
I'm timing at 6:25 on mine. FIAD, we know that the group who did the interviewing selected Carrie Couchman to move over to the high school. We don't have to reopen. We're having the middle school and the Dilworth Elementary folks do interviews next week and to fill the position based on our existing. So we'll have someone coming forth for the June 11th meeting is the plan. Otherwise, we are down to, after tonight's meeting, we're down to just one, I can't believe it, but just one opening to fill in special ed is where we're at right now. So when you think of, it's funny, Carrie Jorgensen and I were talking about, think of all the changing faces that are taking place right now. That's quite an accomplishment because we have a lot of changes with special ed in particular. As you said, we have the interviews next Tuesday here. We'll have a computer hooked up. All of them are planning on bringing a flash drive and they'll just do the presentations off the screen. So we'll do the same setup as we had last time, where they can present from the front. And if you didn't get a chance to put in for your sub request, make sure you do that before you leave tonight so we can get those subs ordered, and we'll plan for that at 6:30 to 7 in between, do 2 before and 2 after, and we'll see how exhausted everybody is at the end of that to see if we can make a decision that evening. And then room 167 at this site, elementary. If you get done with the meeting and you want to go down and take a look, it's Christy Peppel's room. And I think it was last Wednesday night or Thursday, I got an email from her with a couple pictures. And as soon as I looked at it, I'm thinking, great, wonderful. Houston, we have an issue. And basically water leakage coming down. And so it must have been, so we had a lot of contaminated material. We're waiting to see to make sure that there isn't any asbestos that we may have an abatement issue, because if the wrap may have got, if that got wet, if there was any asbestos airborne, and it's enclosed, everything's enclosed now, but there may be an abatement process that we go through. The good news, if that is the case, the team through Lakes Country Service Co-op is actually doing some abatement work right now in Ulan-Hitterdal. And so they would just send somebody over for one day yet this week, probably on Friday when we don't have students here, and just do the cleanup of that.
Ceiling or water
Ceiling.
pipe or heat? Or
Well, it would be on the water pipe, most likely where, around that with the
Hot water
asbestos.
heat.
Pardon?
The hot water heat?
That I don't know which pipe it was, but we know that there was water coming down. It was, according to Christy, from the email I got, and then you can see it when we go down and take a look. At the end of that day, it was a mess in there, so it was cleaned up right away that next morning, and everybody did what they needed to do to get that moving forward. So that's a project that we're monitoring. Capital outlay, one thing I would like to get some feedback from you, and some of it goes down to at what point will we be looking at potentially in a perfect world, if we did move a bond forward and if it was successful, what we would do with the parking lot, but the potential that we may be going through 2 summers without the parking lot. Do we want to continue just putting gravel and what else not in it? Do we want to try to do a patch job? My hope was it's a possibility that we could get a patch job done even this week on Friday. But my question for you just to think about is, to do it right, I mean, we really do need to dig down if we're gonna do it right and put an overlay. But then again, you hate to put an overlay in when you know you're gonna tear something up. It's a lot of money.
Do you know
So-
approximately, have you gotten bids or anything on what a
That's-
patch job would be? Because I know we talked about this a little bit last week, we're kind of, I mean, in time for graduation, it would be nice to,
Yeah, and right now, a couple of so I had James working on that last week. And one of the issues is nobody's gonna, there aren't many of the contractors that are gonna come in and unless they just have, that they're wrapping up something, it's hard to get them just to come in on a one-day deal. They've gotta link it in with something else, so it's difficult to get that done. There is one potential contractor who may be able to do it on Friday. And so I guess that's a question I have for you is, do we want to look at trying to do where it would be putting in just a patch job into those areas with some asphalt just to get us through now? Or do we fill it in with gravel for now and then do more of a, you know, where we can, because here's the deal. There aren't many contractors who are going to be able to do it this week. That's just, you know, one of the issues with asphalt, because they got to link into something that they're already doing.
well, I don't know a lot about this stuff, obviously.
Why don't we
It's
just,
not my
why don't we
strong
just patch
suit.
it and wait till November, and if something does or doesn't happen, well, then just fix it in the spring or put it in with a referendum if that
See,
goes through.
My question is, because the issue, Scott, is if we do it this week and there may only be one contractor who's available, we're not going to be able to get bids. Or we put gravel in for now to get to graduation.
Right, but I think bidding would probably be higher because then they're making a special trip basically out here to do our job. This way, this is something that they
Are we
already
just kicking it-
basically have on their truck, correct?
Yeah, but we have to find somebody who,
Right, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
This-
and there may
Obviously,
be
you
one
know of
Friday.
somebody, you know of somebody on Friday that can obviously do it.
Right, that's,
So,
and if you're fine with that, just,
Just a question, only, like I said, I don't know a lot about this stuff, but I had a family member that needed to do a patch job in their driveway, $4,500. She called the guys down the street when they were working here, and she called the number on the side of the truck, it was $600.
yeah, that's,
that's what
can
we're
you
trying,
do
that's
that?
what I think you're trying to do.
that's what I'm
Oh,
trying to
okay,
do. That's
yeah, I mean,
exactly,
If they're
because the
here in
problem
Glendon
is,
already and they gotta dump that stuff,
Yeah.
Exact-
that's what-
and
okay,
usually-
That's why I think it would be cheaper than going it out for bid.
right.
Because
Well, if they're
already
gonna, I mean, if they're
on
gonna,
another job.
if they're gonna gouge you, just tell them no.
It's-
But I mean, if you can fix it, just, I don't know, I guess I would
so
just
if
say
you're
just fix it.
fine with it, you know, if I can find somebody that has something, because let's face it, what typically happens with this, if you know of somebody that's just wrapping up a job and you can grab them for the afternoon and they got some hot mix left,
Yep.
and if you're comfortable with that, that's what I would work on trying to get done this week.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
All right, so that's the plan. I'll wrap that one up. And then, the only other, and so capital outlay, so I'm trying, that's why I need to figure out what we're gonna do with that part. I think the patching is probably the best for now anyway, then it won't be a major expense this summer. And so this week, you'll have, we met administratively last week and we're trying to just finalize what are the rest of the classroom requests. Those are the last ones that had to get filled in on the capital. So you should have access to you will have access this week. There'll be an FY19 capital. Okay, so you've had the FY17 and the FY18. I've created an FY19. I haven't shared it yet because we're still adding to it, but you'll have that this week. And the projects that we know are time sensitive, they're moving. I mean, like some of the things we have to do technology-wise, we know they have to happen. So they'll be already in motion with, for fiscal 19 July 1 billing. But they'll be on the list, and like I said, this week, you'll be able to see that document. And that way, when we meet on the 11th, whether we have operations or not, at least then we've got time to be able to look at, and if there's other things that you have suggestions for, The things I can tell you for sure that are on the list, we've talked about that 5th grade, the classrooms at the Glendon Elementary site, all those cabinets, all of those things, that wing needs to get done. Okay, so get those estimates. We need to get these bathrooms, you know, there's certain projects we can't do because they're linked directly to a bond potential, but some of them are standalone projects. As many of those standalone projects we can get done, we want to get done. So we'll continue work on those bathrooms like over at the Dilworth site, because those are standalones. And that's with Comstock anyway. So they did the one set, and now I think we have, so they did the 1st, 2nd grade wing, and we've got the, 3rd through 5th. There's 2 other bathrooms that have to get done over there. We can't touch the one over by the entrance to the gym, of course, because I spent a lot of money on it.
It's grandfathered in.
Right.
So it's doing the things we can, like the 5th grade wing, those have to get done. And again, that's through our long-term facility maintenance funds. So that is within budget anyway.
So are they taking care of the subterranean one that needs help?
The one by the district
The one where
office.
James crawled in and got back in there? We don't know how he got
That's
back
one,
in there?
there's no doubt, that has to get done. And what's gonna happen with that one, that wall has to get, we have to knock out that wall. So there is water leakage on both the girls' side and the guys' side. And so it's in between there, and that's why we know in that tunnel system there, that's why the tunnel system is actually sinking. So that's not one of those, once we get into it and find out, we're just gonna get moving on it. So we don't have a choice. So you're gonna have that, and then the last thing, just start thinking about, so sometime in June, in the same way that we will do the survey with the faculty that's leaving, and we'll do that as we get them through this week. Everybody needs to wrap up their classrooms. But we'll get that out to them in June. And then I think the same thing, to sit down, and I talked to some of you about this, and I talked to the admin cabinet about having a work session, just sit down with the admin cabinet and the board, and just where we're going with things, with some of the goals setting and what else not. It's a perfect time in June.
Will they have their ILT meetings prior to that?
I think
Preferably?
we know we'll have the DLT meeting
Okay.
in mid-year or mid-June. And so I don't know yet when all of the site meetings are taking place, but I think it would just make sense to try to time it, you know,
Yeah.
so that we've had some
I
of
mean, I
those
think it would just
meetings.
be more comprehensive to bring it to the table that way, if you had your site meetings.
Yeah, because then at least, you know, they won't, most likely, they're not going to have their goals all set as sites, because June is a lot of refreshing. And then July, they start, you know, June is, okay, what things went well, what things do we want to work on, so they'll have topics, but they won't have their action plans ready, because the action plans typically get put together in July, so that they have them July and August, get the action plans moving forward. But they should have the general goals as far as, these are the things we got to work on.
Okay, that's good.
So that should be easy enough. That's it.
You just send an email out then, as far as, I mean, not that it matters if there is only one person to do the parking lot, just so we have an idea, so it's not.
I will definitely keep you posted
Thank
if
you.
it looks like this is going to happen on Friday.
Okay.
That's what we're shooting for.
Sounds good.
13 minutes.
7.1, the approval of the May 14th regular meeting.
Second.
Any discussion?
Second.
I got that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Couldn't hear the
same
first
sign.
part. I was like, I just heard something.
Going on the consent agenda, under the business, under claims and accounts.
Bills to be paid, $152,786.52.
And your treasurer's report, Minnesota liquid asset account, activities account, a donation are also all on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So,
Motion by Lindsay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bobby. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Moving on to 9.1, this is the resolution for the Minnesota State High School League 2018-19 year. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Raleigh, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Lindsay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. As it's a resolution, we need to do a roll call.
It's their
resolution.
it's their
So we
resolution.
don't need to, okay? 9.2, sports med contract with Sanford.
So moved.
Motion by Scott, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Amy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. 9.3, this is just your standard practice, records disposal. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Bobby. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Lindsay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. 9.4, this is looking for a motion to approve Liberty Mutual Insurance, and employers' insurance as providers for the fiscal year 19.
So moved.
Motion by Scott. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Raleigh. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Our milk bids are in there, looking for Land O'Lakes for the next school year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Lindsay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bobby. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Moving on to 9.6, looks like they are recommending again, staying with the same bakery. Looking for a motion.
Which bakery is that?
Bimbo,
Beambo.
Bimbo. Bimbo, sorry.
It's funny every year.
Maybe,
So moved.
did you make a motion, Scott?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Meal prices, these are, nothing we can do about that. Those prices come mandated to us to increase that. So it just shows the increase in all of the thing in it, all of the levels, and of course, leaving the reduced breakfast free, and the reduced lunch is also free.
So moved.
Motion by Amy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Lindsay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Moving on to 9.8, continuing contract status. And there, we were given a list of the members who have now attained continuing contract status.
So moved.
Second by Scott, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Raleigh. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Moving on to 9.9, under the non-certified contract for Devin Zimbelman, night shift custodial supervisor, $20 an hour, effective May 15th. The motion,
So moved. Bobby's got it.
Is that
I'll
Bobby?
second.
and seconded by Amy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. 9.10, non-certified contract for Megan Halverson, custodian, $14.77 an hour, effective May 21st.
So moved.
Motion by Lindsay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Amy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. 9.11, certified contract for Jade Arnston, high school fax, 0.5 FTE, effective at the start of this coming school year. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Scott. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bobby. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. 9.12, the administrative contract for Wayne Lepard, DGF high school principal.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Moving on to 9.13, the implementation of alternative learning program for our district, beginning of the fall of 19. We have a motion.
So moved. Oh,
Go ahead,
Lynn's,
Amy.
Lynn's got it.
Lindsay, okay, and Amy, are you seconding it?
Sure.
Okay, any discussion?
Are we gonna be hiring for this position, or is this?
We'll do it all in-house. So it's just getting it on the record so I can proceed with the state to get the plan. And you'll have the plan in July, as we get ready for the state. But this will give me the heads up so I can move it forward.
Okay, anybody have any question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Moving on to 10.1, the certified contract for Rebecca Donahue, early childhood special ed.
So moved.
Motion by Bobby, is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Moving on to 10.3, the certified non-renewal for Marcia Jacobson. Again, this is only due to the lack of necessary position, nothing else. So we're looking at the non-renewal. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Lindsay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Amy. Any discussion?
I just want to go on the record and say, I think our fourth grade numbers are getting a little high. And, looking at the equitableness, I think first grade, I think 20's getting high. So I'm just not in support of that. I'm just going to say that.
Okay. This would be something that we should discuss more at our work session that's coming up, would be
Yeah.
to look at any.
Well,
of
and
the-
I don't know what it'll be,
Right,
but I mean, there's a lot of parts. I mean, there's 148 kids in fourth grade. That stinks. So we got 27 in Glendon, we have that. So I didn't talk to anybody about it. I probably should have ahead of time, but I'm not. So that's all there's to it.
okay.
It's my opinion.
So Brian, for the work session, can you just have current numbers?
So, for next year, fourth grade is 4 sections, 22 to 23 students at the Dilworth site, 3 sections at the Glendon site at 18-to-1 ratio.
I got, wait. I got 23 and a half and 27 on my sheet here.
No, it's 3 sections at the Glendon site,
So what's their average then?
18.
Okay. Dilworth 24.
What's the
roughly.
date on that one, Scott?
I don't know.
This is
Or
that.
9.
This was the one that was updated, because now they're at, the Glendon site is 19 sections for next year, same amount of sections as it has this year. So that earlier one, Scott,
Yep.
had the 2 sections over at Glendon.
So what is the, because I was trying to figure out averages too, because, like I said,
average-
I look back at kind of numbers, as my kids went through, and I think everybody in this room could realize that the numbers are not always equitable between the two buildings. I don't know if numbers have to be shipped over or what it is. I look at first grade, you got 3 sections at 48 is averaging 16, you got 5
Here's-
sections at 20, and if you average that out, it's about 17. It's not a big deal. I'm sure this is going to go through. I just don't support it.
Support what, though? I mean,
Well, no, I'm just simply,
So here's what the overall averages are, projected right
just
now.
don't do the K through 5, do K through 4. That's the part that, because K through 5 kind of skews the numbers a little bit, so I separated
So
that.
right now it's projected at the kindergarten at the Dilworth site, 18.5 to 1. Glendon site, 18.5 to 1. Dilworth site, first grade, 18.6. Glendon site, 15.1,
Yeah.
15 to 1. And again, this is until you make a decision on if you want to change your open enrollment policy in July, because that's when we can shift some,
That's,
equalize it.
that's what I'm
But
getting at.
again, that's not going to have anything to do with, if anything, we'd have even less teaching positions needed when we shift. So second grade, Dilworth, 83 4 sections, 20.75 to 1. The Glendon site, 50 students, 3 sections. That's where, there's your perfect example of the shifting would help. Third grade, 91. And again, the kindergarten, remember, is because Dilworth won't end up at 74. That's how many, as of May, about a week and a half ago, that actually are there. What's that?
We're at 76 today.
Yeah.
For next year's kindergarten
Yeah,
in
because we
Dilworth?
know that will, it'll be in the 80s. It's just, it's early.
Correct.
Third grade, 91, 4 sections, 22.75 to 1. Glendon site 54, 3 sections, 18 to 1. And again, 5th grade is just at the one site. The overall averages in the elementary for next year is projected at the Dilworth site, K through 4, is an average of 20.57 to 1. The Glendon site is 19.34 to 1 overall.
Correct. No, and I get that. I was just, as I was looking through this sheet from 4-9, you know, when you cross that out, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
When you cross the 5th grade out, there is an equitable difference between the two buildings in the K through 4.
Yeah.
That's simply what I'm stating, and honestly, it's tough. So, you know, either, you know, in the future, we either need to, you know, at a work session, move those people over. I'm not simply saying like, hey, let's, you know, if there's not a spot, there's not a spot currently. But if we're not gonna move those people over, you know, that makes it, in my mind, it's not very equitable, especially with these younger ages.
And that's why that policy 509.2 is the key.
And as long as we move that over, that's fine.
That's, and that is, we've talked about that being on, one of the recommendations coming from all the sites is looking at the open enrollment policy, recommendations for revising that.
Yeah.
And that's the key. If you want to be able to shift, you've got to make some changes on that policy. And
Or-
that will get the equity.
Yeah, or we need to add, unfortunately, to make it equal.
Add personnel.
Yeah, which isn't in the budget I get.
Mhm.
So that's the only other way to make it equitable.
And that's, did you have any particular one that you would?
Well, I'm looking at
particular
an old sheet here, so I mean, that doesn't do me a lot of good. I just, looking at this, you know,
That should be the only one should be changed. That's that 5-year one projection. This is the enrollments by site and grade 2018-19, the one that we do every month.
yeah, as long as, like I said, that 1st and 2nd grade, I'm comfortable, just as long as we're not starting to hit, you know, much over 20.
Now,
At
first
all.
grade, we got 18.6 to 1 and 15 to 1. It's actually
In Dilworth,
lower
okay.
than, well, the Glendon site's got 3 sections.
Yep.
So that's 15 to 1.
Yep.
Second grade is 20.75 to 1 at Dilworth and 16.66 to 1 at Glendon. So there should be more kids shifted from Dilworth to Glendon, and that would
Yeah.
be where the
And-
open enrollment piece, we don't have to add another
Yeah,
step.
and that's what I get, yeah, and we're not gonna make those decisions today. I just wanna point out, when we're looking at losing staff and a good person, it's like, at some point, we need to address those things too, because 4 extra on an average per classroom, I mean, that's a lot of kids for our elementary teachers, so.
Yep.
It kinda
Okay.
sucks for them, I suppose.
So a motion by Lindsay and seconded by Amy. All those in favor say aye.
I,
And opposed, same sign. 10.3, the revised contract for James Nettleton.
And we discussed before when we did the hiring, once James got his first-class boiler license, which I sent out to all of you, he does have that, and you got a motion on that?
yep, I make a motion that we give him the $1 an hour raise, as long as that stays in line with what we had talked about before, and I believe that was pretty much right on the nose.
And that'll just be through June 30th, because then we'll be renegotiating for fiscal 19 coming up sometime in June and July for the next year. But then this can take place for June 1st. And I did talk to Jeannie, and getting this done tonight will make it perfect. She can start that right on June 1 payroll.
Okay, so I have a motion by Raleigh for the
So
salary,
moved, or I mean, second. I'll second
Okay.
it.
and seconded by Scott.
Okay.
Bloody fast.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign.
And just to clarify, through June 30th?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to 11, our next board meeting is out in Felton. It is Monday, June 11th. Is that during Felton Field Days? Is that,
I think it's the
That's
next
their
week.
week.
So it's like in between.
okay.
Do you want to do, getting to Felton by 5, do you want to do an operations meeting beforehand, or do you want to wait and do something after the meeting? Because there really isn't anything else operations-wise. And again, trying to get everybody out there by 5 is gonna be a problem.
With
I say we
Park
do it
being on
after if
hold.
we have to.
Yeah. 6
See what,
Yeah, if you have to do something after.
Yeah, because, yeah,
sounds
I
good.
agree.
Okay,
Perfect.
all right. And it is 6:55. Meeting is adjourned.